I was 16, in my junior year of high school. Our school day had 9 periods. 5th period was lunch, and right after that was my astronomy class. That class was different. It was held in one of the 2 basement classrooms of our school. Our high school was massive, 3 full floors, and even that wasn't enough for all the classes. So they built 2 extra classrooms in the basement. It used to be a janitor's storage area until it was renovated to resemble a proper hallway. Still, when you were down there alone, it had this eerie vibe. There were no intercoms, no loudspeakers in the basement, so no classes were held down there during first period when the morning announcements were made. We all called it the chamber. Funny thing is, everyone wanted their classes there. It had AC, the work was easier, and there was even a private bathroom. That day, we had a quiz in astronomy. I usually finished first. The subject was easy for me. Once I handed it in, I texted my friend. He was in the other basement classroom. I told him to meet me in the bathroom. I was bored. He replied, "Okay." I stepped out of class and walked down the short hallway toward the bathroom. A few seconds later, the door opened. My friend KK entered. We started joking around, laughing. Nothing serious. Then, KK looked at his phone. He said someone had texted him. The school was going into lockdown. We looked at each other, grinning. Neither of our teachers had seen us leave. That meant we had free roam during the lockdown. We figured we'd sneak upstairs, check out the empty halls, just for the thrill. Worst case scenario, we'd say we couldn't hear the announcement in the basement. Plausible. But when we opened the basement door to the main floor, everything changed. The lights were off. Hallways completely dark except for a faint glow coming from the lobby doors. That wasn't normal. Even during lockdowns, the hallway lights stayed on. Something was wrong, and for the first time, we weren't so sure about exploring anymore. KK took a few steps into the hallway. I followed. Then he paused. "Who's that?" he whispered. I looked where he was pointing. Emerging from the darkness was a man. At first, we weren't sure. A teacher? But as he got closer, it was obvious. This man wasn't staff. He looked like a vagrant, worn clothes, dirty, out of place. "Let's go," I told KK, and we turned back, heading quickly down to the basement. He saw us. No doubt. We saw both classroom doors closed, lights off. So, to avoid drawing attention, we ducked into the bathroom. I turned off the light immediately. We ran to the far stall and hid. Silence. No humming vents, no buzzing heaters. Just our breathing and the occasional drip, drip from the sink. Then, the bathroom door creaked open. Light poured in for a second. Then, slam, dark again. We froze, breathing shallow. We heard footsteps. Slow, coming toward our side of the bathroom. Then they stopped. Heavy breathing. Loud. Labored. Like the person had just run upstairs. KK leaned close to me and whispered, "We have to crawl out through the other stalls." Even though it was a whisper. The room was so quiet, you could hear everything, and so could he. The breathing stopped. Then, the stall door rattled. He was trying to open it. "Go. Go!" I whispered to KK. We dropped to the floor, crawled under to the next stall, then the next, until we reached the other end of the bathroom. Suddenly, bang, bang! He started slamming the stall door we had just left. We jumped to our feet, threw open the bathroom door. Light rushed in. There he was, standing in the corner. The same man from upstairs. We bolted, pounded on the door to KK's classroom. The teacher opened it quickly. KK blurted out everything. The teacher locked the door behind us. He was pale. He said he saw a gun in the man's pocket. I hadn't noticed a gun, but I nodded anyway. I didn't want to question it. This wasn't the kind of situation people laughed at. Nobody was smiling. All the students in the room looked terrified. Then, bang! The classroom door shook. Several girls screamed. We looked. He was there. The man, staring through the window in the door, trying the handle, still locked. After a few moments, he banged again, harder, then turned and walked away, back up the stairs. The lockdown lasted over an hour after that. The room was silent, except for the teacher asking us quiet questions, concerned, shaking his head at everything we told him. Finally, a call came in. We were told to leave the building, single file, up the stairs. Cops were waiting. We gave our best descriptions to the police and the school dean. One officer patted me on the back. Then we were sent home. After that day, the school installed cameras everywhere. Security was tightened. But the incident never made it to the news. No one ever told us if they caught him. And to this day, I truly believe that man came into that basement bathroom to kill us. I'm a retired police officer from New Jersey. Throughout my 20 years on the force, the most unsettling call I ever received was during a school lockdown at a nearby middle school. I'll withhold the name for legal reasons. It happened on a stormy, dark day. My unit number was called over the radio to respond to a lockdown situation. A suspicious-looking man had reportedly stepped out of a white van parked behind the school and entered through the rear door near the boys' locker room. I pulled into the back parking lot right beside the white van. The vehicle was empty and all doors and the trunk were locked tight. I opened the red back door, which led into a dim gym hallway near the locker rooms. The main lights inside the school had been shut off, so the interior was shrouded in darkness. I removed the flashlight from my belt and used it to navigate the corridors. Eventually, I reached the school lobby, where a woman stepped out of the front office and quietly told me to check the boys' locker room, but to be cautious as the suspect could be armed. I radioed for backup and was assured that units were already en route. I returned down the hallway I'd come from and found the boys' locker room situated right next to an exit door. I slowly and quietly pushed it open. There were no windows in the room, so it was completely pitch black. Only the beam of my flashlight pierced the darkness. I could hear a faint humming sound, likely from a ceiling vent pushing air. But even over that, there were strange, subtle scratching noises, tiny dings and thuds coming from the far side of the locker room. As protocol, I was supposed to announce my presence as an officer, but truthfully, I was terrified. The tension in that room was unbearable. Holding the flashlight in one hand and my gun in the other, I carefully moved toward the other end of the room. Wherever I stepped, it felt like the sounds were always coming from just beyond my position. I eventually reached a corner near the door to the bathroom when the loud slam of a locker door from another room jolted me to my core. I followed the noise toward what I discovered was the football team's locker room. There was no door separating it from the main locker area. These lockers were nearly triple the size of the regular ones. I finally gathered the courage to announce, "Police!" Immediately, I heard a muffled voice, a kid crying out for help from somewhere inside the room. The boy began banging on a locker door a few feet from where I stood. When I realized he was trapped inside one, My stomach dropped. I assured him I'd return shortly and radioed for backup once more as I sprinted outside, only to discover the white van was gone. My biggest mistake was not taking down the license plate right away. I quickly alerted dispatch to be on the lookout for a suspicious white van. Rushing back inside, I instructed the front office staff to initiate dismissal and send someone with keys to the locker room to release the boy. Later, it was discovered that the man had been holding a knife to the 12-year-old's back, likely attempting to quietly abduct him to the van. The boy had sustained a bleeding wound on his arm from resisting the man's grip. The white van was located a week later in a 7-Eleven parking lot. The suspect was apprehended after being positively identified. I was staying alone at a Hampton Inn in New Jersey while visiting Rowan University, a college I was seriously considering. My family couldn't come with me, so I had to make the trip solo. After attending campus tours that day, I grabbed dinner at a small restaurant nearby, then returned to the hotel around 8 p.m. My plan was to head back to the university again the next morning. About an hour after settling into my room, a loud alarm suddenly started blaring. At the same time, a bright white light began flashing from a small device in the corner of the ceiling. Soon after, a calm but robotic voice echoed through the room on loop. "Attention all Hampton Inn guests, please remain in your rooms." This is a lockdown? A lockdown? In a hotel? I had never heard of such a thing. I didn't even know hotels had alarm systems like that. At first, I was more intrigued than scared. Eventually, the alarm sound stopped, but the light kept flashing, bright and steady, every few seconds, and the same automated message would repeat every 20 seconds. It wasn't even that late, just past 9:30, so I decided to turn on the TV for background noise. While it played quietly, I changed into more comfortable clothes, brushed my teeth, and turned off the lights before getting into bed. I lay there, watching TV for another half hour before finally switching it off. But that constant flashing white light from the corner of the ceiling was definitely going to make sleep difficult. I was just about to call the front desk to ask what was going on when the room phone suddenly rang. It was the front desk. A woman with a soft but panicked voice was on the line. I expected her to explain the alarm situation, maybe even tell me when it would stop. But instead, she said something I'll never forget. "Sir, please, stay calm and walk out of the room immediately." I froze. I asked what was happening, what she meant by that. She lowered her voice and said, "There is someone in your room with you. You need to get out. Now." My blood turned cold. I dropped the phone, heart racing, and instinctively started scanning the room. I checked under the bed. Nothing. I peeked into the bathroom, completely empty. Then I turned toward the closet. It was one of those wooden sliding door closets near the bathroom. The door was open, just a crack. And through that narrow slit, I saw a human face. For a few seconds, my mind couldn't process what I was seeing. Then the door slowly slid shut. That was it. I bolted. I ran out of that room without looking back. At the front desk, they showed me security footage from earlier that evening. A man had been wandering the hallways, clearly searching for a specific room. He had stopped at my door, pulled out a card he somehow acquired, and walked right in. And then he waited. An hour, maybe more, in the closet, watching me. When the police arrived, they pulled the man out in handcuffs. He was short, maybe in his 40s, with a face that looked strangely familiar. As they escorted him past me, He locked eyes with me, not in panic, not in regret, but like he knew me, like he had been waiting for me. I still don't know who he was or what would have happened if that phone hadn't rung.